Now it's time for your viewing pleasure, the online show that will change how you think about online shows. Welcome to the Great I.O. Get-Together! On tonight's show, fun and excitement like you won't believe. The thrills, the chills. Now join me in welcoming your hosts and mine, Richard and Tara!
Thank you so much, Pete. Welcome, everyone, to the Great I.O. Get-Together, number 8, take 2. I.O. is a mad, 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 mad world with Scott Highhouse. My name is Richard. This is my co-host, Tara. How are you doing, Tara? Do you have any random facts for us today?
You know, I know that you love the random facts, so I thought I'd give you a choice today. Do you want to know about giraffe weevils, or do you want to know about kleptomaniac birds? Yeah, it's a tough choice. Take your time.
Let's go bird fact.
Oh, thank goodness. So apparently birds love hair, like human hair and mammal hair, and the new study is watching birds like steal hair off of living creatures without being detected. So look out is all I'm saying. Invest in some hats. It's very cute. I recommend it.
The hat recommendation for all of our viewers.
Lest your hair be stolen in the middle of the night by a rogue kleptomaniac bird.
Wow. Well, on that happy note to start us off, for those of you that haven't joined us before, we are recording these live. Should be pretty obvious by now. So that we can take your questions live on the show. You'll get the most out of live gigs by joining our Discord community, where you can chat with fellow IOs. That's students, academics, practitioners, during the show or really anytime you want. You can find out more details about that at thegig.online. All of our regular shows, and this one is no exception, have two halves. In the first half, we have a little bit of fun. Second half, we get a little bit more serious, all with our guests of the day. So at the top of today's gigs, IO Mad Libs. And if you've never played Mad Libs before, it is the premier phrasal template word game for the ages, which is a direct quote from Wikipedia. Our lucky guest today, and technically our first repeat guest, is Dr. Scott Highhouse, professor of psychology at Bowling Green State University, Ohio, eminent scholar and resident IO science practice rabble-rouser extraordinaire. Welcome to the show, Scott.
Oh, great to be here. Thanks a lot again. Great to be here.
Yes. Last time Scott was on the show, we had a rousing game of Mad Libs. Took about 30 minutes. Turned out that it's just the three of us. We had a full show and no one saw it. So we're going to try that again this time. This time with an audience. Please let us know you're there by posting in the in Discord or in our YouTube live chat. The goal of our Mad Libs game is essentially to be as wacky as possible. So I'm going to be asking for a series of words from both Tara and Scott, one after the other. We'll fill in some IO relevant text, and I will, at the end of that, be asking them to guess the original source of the template that I removed words from in order to make it. These are all different from the version of this that no one saw, so this is all brand new.
Oh, no.
Yep. And after the break, we will chat a little bit more seriously with Scott about his work on science practice gap and IO. All right, everybody ready?
Yeah, we'll try to make it less raunchy this time. Go down.
It was scandalous. I was blushing last time. That's true.
Well, let's find out. First, I need an adjective.
Oh, who do you want to start?
Oh, Scott can start us off, I think.
White.
All right. Noun for a type of person, plural.
Kleptomaniac.
Good, nice save. All right. Another. Need another type of person, plural noun.
Oh, jeez. I didn't know this was going to be so hard this time. Barons.
Barons?
Like me?
Yeah, like rich barons.
Okay.
I don't know where that came from.
Adjective.
Vigorous.
All right. Noun.
Ego depletion.
Wow. All right. We'll do it. Singular noun for a person's role or job.
What? These are so specific. Scientist? Banana scientist.
Nat scientist. An acronym.
Oh, mad.
MAD. Job title.
Wait, did you skip acronym?
Was it MAD the acronym?
Yeah, mad.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, job title?
Mm-hmm.
Again? Data scientist.
Okay.
Oh, wait, I
One
already
more.
said scientist.
Another
Oh, well.
job. Yeah, another job title.
Plumber.
Nice. One more job title.
Train conductor.
That's
Interesting.
a Boilermaker.
And
Yeah, exactly. Boilermaker.
and a noun.
Um, a worm.
All right. So again, the goal here is to figure out what the original source of this might have been. So, and there's some pretty big clues. The overarching goal of the White Grant program is to find funding for research investigating topics of interest to both kleptomaniacs and barons. Thus, considerable weight will be given to whether the proposal consists of a vigorous effort between kleptomaniacs and barons. The grant submission package must include an ego depletion proposal. The principal nanoscientist of the project must be a mad data scientist, plumber, or train conductor. A proposal submitted with a data scientist as the principal nanoscientist must include a letter of endorsement from a mad plumber, preferably their worm.
So I need to point out to you that I said banana scientist.
Banana scientist?
But
Oh.
otherwise, it's fine. I don't suppose it would improve it anyway.
Oh, principal. Oh, it's a banana. I see. All right.
Yes.
I can. Do you need me to read the whole thing, or do you think you have the tone here?
As much as I would enjoy that, no, I think we're okay. We need to guess what that is.
Yeah. What is this from?
I mean, sounds like a grant RFP.
Mm-hmm.
Is it PSYOP grant?
It is a PSYOP grant. It's a small grants proposal.
Awesome.
Yeah. Although this is the White Grant program instead of the small grant program. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. It's I was really curious how the end would go because it's proposals submitted. If you submit it as a student, you have to have like a sponsor. But then you had the data scientist was the principal banana scientist. All right.
Trust breakers more.
All right. We go to I don't know who. I guess nobody won because you both kind of sort of got to it. Did everybody won? Everybody won. All right.
We all enjoyed that the most.
Oh, I got you. All right. Well, we got 3 total experiences today. So here's number 2. I'm gonna need a noun.
Hairball.
That's a good choice. Plural noun.
What?
Plural noun.
Hula hoops.
I had to think I had to spell hula. Hula hoops. All right. City. Name of a city.
Timbuktu.
Probably didn't spell that right. Adjective describing a personal trait.
Brawny.
We said less raunchy.
Noun.
Hamstrings.
Hamstrings.
Hamstring. You know, do you prefer tricep? I mean, quad, delt. Choose your muscle.
Adjective describing a feeling.
Does rowdy work?
I think so.
Sure. A noun for a person's role.
Baker.
Nice. Adjective.
Kooky.
Okay. Another adjective.
Unreliable.
Oh, did the wrong tense, but it'll make sense later. A number.
Oh, me 8.
8. It's an excellent number. Adjective.
Fascinating.
Noun.
I'm trying to like hook this or find some psychology connection, but I'm not. The brain.
Brain.
Verb in past tense.
Simulated.
All right. Name of a statistical test.
Oh, Kolmogorov Smirnov.
All right. Noun for personal trait.
And I'm just thinking of things that are really hard for you to spell.
Thanks.
Wait, did you say a noun for a personal trait?
Yes.
Eccentricism.
I spelled it. Another personal trait, noun.
Now I'm trying to block out all raunchy things from my head. Extroverted.
All right. I will use extroversion. There we go. All right. So we've got, here we go. So again, goal is to figure out where this is from, which I think you'll figure out.
We'll see.
Hairball interview questions, such as estimate how many hula hoops are in Timbuktu, are just one example of brawny interviewer behaviors that lack hamstrings. It's rowdy debaters. This research attempts to shed light on the motives behind such behavior by examining the relationship between kooky traits and the perceived unreliability of hairball interview questions. A representative sample of working adults, N=8, was presented with a list of interview questions that were either fascinating, for example, are you a good brain? I lost an adjective. Other adjective. For example, tell me about a time when you simulated. Or hairball in nature. Results of a Kolmogorov-Smirnov test controlling for interviewing experience and sex showed that eccentricism, there we go, and extroversion explain the likelihood of using hairball questions in an interview. Source of that?
Hey, that made a surprising amount of sense. Can I just point it out? That's pretty amazing. I mean, that sounds like an abstract.
It is.
I think I just saw that paper.
Maybe.
Wait, did you write that paper? Who wrote that paper?
That would be my paper with Chris Nye and Don Zhang, I believe, on brain teaser interview questions.
You mean hairball interview questions?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a great stroke of luck, I gotta tell you.
That's a good abstract to use for this game.
Although
Scott, N=8, you should really know better than that.
Yeah.
I'm embarrassed for you.
Yeah, I was using a non-parametric test.
Yeah. Excuses.
All right, we got one more.
I'm ready.
Acronym. I don't know whose turn it is.
HIPAA.
Now, is it HIPPA or HIPAA?
Two A's.
Oh, double A. All right. Noun.
Shampoo.
Excellent. Adjective.
Adjective?
Mm-hmm.
Carnivorous.
Carnivorous. All right. This might be a hard one. Pretentious noun.
Noun. Leverage.
That's a good one.
Plural noun.
Pretentious or non-pretentious?
Your choice.
Okay. Plural noun. Weevils.
Weevils. Another plural noun.
Oh. Sledgehammers.
Verb.
A verb.
Mhm.
A verb. Congeal.
Ooh. All right. Noun.
Carpet.
Another noun.
What?
Another noun.
Another noun. So many nouns. Machine learning.
All right. Word for people, plural.
Individuals.
Adjective.
Nascent.
Noun.
Mannequin.
Noun describing a trait.
Gregariousness.
Noun describing another trait.
Oh. Rowdiness.
Old standby. All right. Name of a product or technology.
SPSS.
All right. Verb.
Shattered. Or is that an adverb? Or adjective?
Shatter will work.
Shattered.
Another verb.
Smell.
Noun.
Band-Aid.
One more noun.
Propaganda.
Wow. All right. Here it is. So again, what is the source? The HIPAA lab focuses on generating shampoo by conducting carnivorous research with real-world impact in order to improve leverage systems and inform policy. Projects we're working on, weevils and sledgehammers are changing the way that people congeal. We're investigating the implications of these changes in a variety of contexts, especially carpet. Additionally, it is now possible for machine learning to monitor individuals in many ways, but this practice can have unintended and nascent effects. We're currently investigating how mannequin monitoring affects individuals' gregariousness and rowdiness. Finally, SPSS is transforming the way that people shatter and smell in a variety of settings. We are investigating the intersection of SPSS with Band-Aids and propaganda.
I'm saying this is Tara's lab.
Yeah. Yes.
On her website.
Right to it. What else could it be?
Yeah, that's definitely my lab website. Carpet weevils are a really important problem. I just want to point that out. Don't minimize that, please.
Well, that's all I've got. I had 3 for us. I think that worked out pretty well, and I think everybody won, especially me.
I put in an old Peter Gabriel Genesis theme in there: carpet crawlers, shattered skin, and mannequins. And
we missed it.
Deal. I mean,
man, next time.
Well, with that, we're gonna take a little break, and when we come back, maybe a slightly more serious interview with Scott. So 5 minutes. See you then.
We'll be right back after these messages from our sponsors.
And we're back. Welcome, one and all. Hope you enjoyed our first half. Gonna have a few slightly more serious things to talk about this time. Let me start off with this one. So in 2008, Scott, you wrote an IOP article titled "Stubborn Reliance on Intuition and Subjectivity in Employee Selection." How's that going? Still stubbornly relying, or have we moved beyond it?
Yeah, I don't remember what my answer was the first time, but I am not sure that it's had that big of an impact. It had a big impact on me getting invited to give talks to public sector assessment people and really get involved in that world. And so it was great for me professionally, and probably influenced the kind of research that I did. The downside of that, I guess, is that I'm more likely to publish in International Journal of Selection and Assessment than I am in our traditional A journals. But that's been an okay trade-off. As far as changing, in the sense of catching on in the public consciousness, I would say not so much. I mentioned last time that there's a new book out by Kahneman, the Nobel Prize winner Dan Kahneman, called Noise. And when you Sunstein is also an author who was on Obama's advisory panel. But when I read reviews of Noise, one thing they mentioned is how interviews don't work, and how the surprising conclusion that Kahneman draws that interviews are not very effective. So, yeah, it's not necessarily bled into the mainstream.
Is there anything that we can do, in your opinion, to bleed such things more into the mainstream? Like, if you were writing that now, was there anything you would do differently at this point?
No, probably be a better promoter. That was 2008, and so maybe it would have caught fire more on Twitter and things like that. But I could have written a popular book maybe, and
Oh,
no,
is that on the radar? Are you gonna?
no,
No.
There's this kind of um, like the analogy in IO would be Adam Grant envy that you see in like the JDM world with people who write these books and get interviewed on talk shows, and oftentimes it's pretty watered down, um, uh, pretty watered down psychology, just presented in a fashionable way. I don't remember what the question was. I'm going
Well,
off.
can I just say one thing I appreciated in your answer just now is you pointing out that after you wrote that article, a bunch of people reached out to you and asked for your opinion, because a lot of early career people asked me how to break into that world of consulting and giving talks, and they don't necessarily see the connection between writing research papers and participating in that world. But of course, there is a connection. So I'm glad that you pointed that out.
Yes, and you kind of get on this circuit of the Personnel Assessment Council of Southern California has you out, and then the Personnel Assessment Council of Northern California, and there's kind of this circuit that you go around. And for me, that was very rewarding professionally, because I hadn't had people really take notice of my research before, and so I thought, wow, this might actually have some practical value.
So this raises kind of an interesting question for me. So you've written a variety of articles kind of reflecting on the field and sometimes giving perhaps some criticisms, let's say. So articles like Where Has the Psychology Gone? The New Fruit Fly for Applied Psychology Research, Learning Through Failure or Failure to Learn. Do you think that and I think this speaks to your last response, do you think your audience is our field, and that you've explicitly made that choice? Because it feels like there are a lot of folks now who do want the book deal, where it's not that they're writing for the field, it's that they're writing for a general public, or maybe just managers in general. Where in that balance do you think you fall?
Yeah, I guess I probably have been more focused on trying to kind of take a a look at our field from trying to take an outside perspective in on our field. And I think I said before, I always admired people who injected opinion into their writing. And Bob Guyan was a big influence on me and back in grad school. And so when years later I ended up taking a job at Bowling Green, got to spend time with Bob. And I remember very early on at a SciOp conference, I complained that there was an IO psychology gap that we're not talking about. And I remember him in the back row giving me the thumbs up and kind of cheering me on. And so, I just kind of enjoyed doing that. It's kind of one person who I asked to review something I wrote one time, actually a big name in the field, and he said, IO psych people are their own worst critics. We don't need more piling on. We should take a more, positive view. And so I thought that was kind of interesting. So I'm kind of the black hat sometimes, I guess.
Well, they always say people complain about the weather, but they never do anything about it, and that's the difference, right? You can point out things that are wrong, and then also suggest ways to improve them, which is a really serious service. Or you can sit around and gripe and complain and not do anything. And I think people conflate those two kinds of complaining.
Right. Yep. And I've had people tone me down over the years. That article that you mentioned in 2008, I remember Paul Sackett suggesting a title like, how about reliance on intuition and subjectivity? Because the old title was just going a little too far. And I said, okay. And I stuck the word stubborn at the beginning. Just to kind of have a barb in there. But yeah, I mean, Paul's always good at that kind of, he has an amazing ability to at the same time compliment a researcher while he is completely cutting him in half. Yeah.
So, so kind of related to that, there's a certain kind of cut that has always annoyed me, and I'm curious what your reaction to it is, which is that work or that thing you did is navel gazing. And I've heard that used quite in a derogatory fashion. And I feel like that may have started to change a little bit with things like the replication crisis and other sort of bigger people stepping back and saying, wait a minute, maybe the way we're doing things is maybe problematic. So do you think that there has been that kind of change? Have you in your career noticed that people are more receptive to this over time? Is it more or less say the same? Just curious there.
Yeah, that's a good observation. I hadn't really thought about that so much. And sometimes I think the replication crisis stuff goes too far and it's too pessimistic. Some things that definitely apply to social psych experimentalists don't necessarily apply to people in IO that are doing especially validation type of work and things like that. But I think there is definitely more criticism, appropriateness, or more receptivity to critical views of our field. Absolutely.
So that so I think your critical eye as well as your other work has been well received. I wanted to point out that you are a very, very short distance now away from a landmark 10,000 citations on Google Scholar. Congratulations! I'm sure that means a lot. Yeah.
I know that. Why is that a landmark? I didn't know that.
There's an extra digit now. That's why.
Yeah.
Do you get like a gold watch? What happens?
I don't know. All I just know is, I like if I'm up for some award or something, I look at other people's and I'm always outnumbered. So I don't I don't necessarily feel like I'm anything exceptional in that regard. I did publish with Philip Levens, and that was a really smart move on my part because that's my most cited paper. Um, One thing, speaking of Paul Sackett, he in his very nice reflection on his career that's in the annual review
Mm-hmm.
of IO, he talks about how being on the I side, you're not going to have the numbers, the H factors, or the impact factors that you would necessarily get on the OB side of things. So yeah,
I'm curious about your choice of word for exceptional in regard to citation count. Is I think people sometimes treat that as a career goal, to just be cited a lot. Did you worry about that at all? Is that like a thing you ever thought about? Like, oh, I should publish this other paper because more people will be reading and citing it, or
no,
yeah.
no, that hasn't really been. I've always thought that you want visibility most of all, and you want visibility in your area that you're working in. And
Mm,
so I want eyes on it of people who are in my area working on the same types of problems that I'm interested in. And to me, and sometimes that does mean publishing in one journal versus another, not taking into account impact factors.
mm. So very closely related to visibility, you did something very, very visible that not many scholars do, definitely not many IOs do, but you started a journal. Uh, why would you do that? What is the reason? What are you hoping will happen with it?
Oh, there's kind of multiple answers to that one. One was maybe dissatisfaction a bit with the way the field was going, and having a journal with articles that are shorter and less, less trying to uh, sound theoretical in the introduction, but getting right to the point. I think a more mature science should have shorter articles, and the journal pad, personnel
Mm,
assessment and decisions. The field is 100 years old. Uh, I think it's going in the wrong direction to try to make it sound more theoretical. And a lot of times, what we call theoretical, it's like, based on the elaboration likelihood model and signaling theory, we expect that, and then they just expect something that is not, it's just a simple logical prediction. Um, I think we have gone a little too far with that to just sound theoretical. But anyway,
mm-hmm.
shorter articles. That the review system has gotten out of control, where reviewers feel like they have to write 3 single-space pages um, to impress the editor, and that's just gotten crazy. I encourage people to just main points, um, and to work toward, if it's something that's publishable, to help the person move it toward publication. So those things were frustrations. The other part of the answer is I saw it work in the judgment decision making world, which is the world that I also have a foot in. There's a journal that John Barron is the editor of, out of University of Pennsylvania, called Judgment Decision Making. It's completely online, open access. Um, and I said, why don't we have this in IO? It's a great journal.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that hard to do. Uh, and why not give it a try? And then the third part of the answer would be is that I did have resources from the Bowling Green State University Library that gave me the platform for a journal, electronic platform for an open access journal, and being involved with IPAC, International Personnel Assessment Council. I was on their executive committee, and they wanted to do something that would be a benefit for its members. And so all of that came together into this journal.
It's funny that you would say it's not that hard. I think most people think it's very hard to start a new journal, and you're describing it as if it just sort of happened. I probably want to give yourself a little bit more credit for doing something that lots of people sit around and talk about and haven't been able to actually accomplish.
Well, we have to get people to send us manuscripts too. I think there's this, we don't have an impact factor yet. That's been a source of frustration that I won't dwell on. That some European professors say they can't send papers to journals that don't have an impact factor. And there's some fear of predatory open access journals. And so there's no cost to the writers or the readers. So I think getting over a lot of those stereotypes can be difficult at first. I'll also add that I think that we should have more like PAD, that we need one like on job attitudes that are focused. And I compared it to cable TV, where you have a golf channel and a home improvement channel, that we have specific open access journals on specific areas within our field would be a future that I see that would be really good for IO.
Hmm.
I think we need a tagline like pad. It has no padding. Huh?
There you go.
You can have that for free.
Thank you.
So this is a really interesting observation, because it feels like the more generic a journal is, the more it begins to specialize into a very particular kind of paper. Like there's very frequent complaints that I hear about, like, what is the kind of thing that these like broader journals will publish. Like there's certain kinds of papers that can get into JAP. There's certain kinds of papers that will go to Science or Nature. Like there's this, it's like people are working toward a particular vision of a paper versus doing good work. I wonder to what extent that's a natural consequence of just trying to be competitive in that like big broad space, trying to have the flashiest headlines. Or maybe it's all Elsevier's fault. Like, I don't know.
It's got, I'm sure with the number of submissions they get, it's got to seem earth shaking to somebody for it to get past all of that. But I do worry about what you were kind of alluding to is there's like a review process where they're looking for specific kinds of things. And if it doesn't fit into their vision for the paper, even if it's a good manuscript, you're not going to get past a negative reviewer there. And that can be frustrating. I recently had a meta-analysis that one of the reviewers wanted us to go down a completely different path, and we didn't want to go down that path, and we didn't think it was right. But there was no there was no getting past that.
It's curious if you've noticed this change, and another change too, is that when talking to people who published in the older world of psychology, let's say like 30 years ago, I hear much more far more stories about things like, oh, I basically had kind of a back and forth, and I called the editor on the phone and we chatted about like how we would deal with these problems. And now it's more like laundry list of things to change because reviewer said so. And I've never even seen that other world of collegiality in publishing and peer review. Is that, have we lost it? Is that still around in some places? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's a mixed bag. I mean, that also in that world, if you sent something on, say, goal setting, you knew X was going to review it, and X had a agenda, and you couldn't break into any of the A journals because of that. So there was definitely downsides to that world too. Yeah. It's just become hyper competitive because it's so much more international than it used to be. There is we didn't have as many researchers from around the world submitting papers, and the submissions. I mean, you can just look at how they've gone up over the years, and the fact that there was JP when I started out had maybe one associate editor, maybe two, and then it just kept growing and growing and growing. They must have 15 associate editors at JP now, and just to handle that workload, the competition is so great. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, that brings us a little bit to my last question. If you were to write another article guiding our field tomorrow, what's the most pressing concern? Like, what should we put most of our focus on right now to make better?
Yeah, I don't know that I want to write this article. I've thought about this since last time, and I think there is this there's this movement that's been going on for quite a long time in the management area, the OB area, to get more theoretical, whatever that means. And because IO psychologists have many of the top people in the field have become parts of management departments and OB scholars in business schools, that they're joined onto that trend, and IO psychologists have therefore followed. And there's this, just kind of insular language that is kind of disengaged from reality, that we have in our papers to make them look theoretical. That I just think it's not the right path for IO to be going down. But yeah, that would be a hard paper to write, and definitely when you talk to people, they have very different perspectives on this, based on where they are. And I guess that would be it.
Yeah, it's funny because one of the when I talk to practitioners in certain roles, especially in the selection space, like I have now heard independently from multiple people, they say things like, the only journals I read are IJSA and PAD. Full stop. Like, none of the other stuff is going to be useful to me. I already know that ahead of time. I don't even look at table of contents. And I think that's very much reflecting the kind of like patterns that you're talking about.
Yeah, when I worked at Anheuser-Busch, and it was in the early 90s. This was a long time ago. Everybody had personnel psych on their shelves, the IO people. And you wouldn't see that anymore, because the journal realized that, related to what I said earlier about Paul Sackett and the small market for I-side, that the journal realized that the market was bigger for OB, and it's really kind of moved in that direction. When it used to be, if you look at the old articles from the 80s in personnel psych, they looked like IJSA articles or PAD articles. Yeah, interesting issue, which is a much bigger discussion about our field. I'll look for you guys to discuss this in the future. One thing I didn't say last time is I have 5 children, which I want to mention. It's been challenging to work in this field with lots of children, but it's been fantastic. And if you look at my water bottle, I'm a big Cleveland Browns fan, and it's very convenient to work at a university that has the same colors as the Cleveland Browns. So
It's almost enough to do like a Lillian Gilbreth efficiency arrangement in your house. Have you considered that?
No, my house is very inefficient. That's for sure.
Lost opportunity there. I think that would be great.
Well, great. This has been great. Thank you so much, Scott. I think these are some really important insights, and I hope our viewers appreciate them as much as I do.
Great. Thanks for having me. It's awesome. You guys are great.
Thanks for doing it twice.
Yep.
All right, and that's it for gig number 8. As take 2, gig number 8. As always, please join our Discord so that you can chat with us before, during, and after the show. Definitely hit subscribe on YouTube. Make sure you get a notification every time that we go live so you never miss a show. Thanks so much for joining us, and we will see you next time for another great IO get together. Bye.
Oh, the times were hard and the wages low. Leave her, Johnny, leave her. I guess it's time for us to go. And it's time for us to leave her. Leave her, Johnny, leave her. Oh, leave her, Johnny, leave her. For the voyage is done and the winds don't blow. And it's time for us to leave her.
I can't believe it's already over. Can you? To keep the excitement going, check out our website at thegig.online. Join our Discord community to chat with your hosts and your fellow giggers. Subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you never miss a gig. Above all, thank you for joining us, and see you next time for another great I.O. get-together.